Finest is an irreverent and darkly comic tale of greed, corruption and survival. The film followed Cyrus, a small-time drug dealer who gets caught up in an elaborate trap set by two corrupt policemen with a vendetta against him and his motley crew. What follows is a night of violence between Cyrus, the detectives and a bunch of Welsh-Jamaican arms dealers, drug-trafficking Afghan cousins and unrelenting Russian thugs. Before we meet two of the film's stars, it's probably best that we take a look at the trailer to try and see what's going on.
Alright there, gents and lady, good morning to you. Let's burn some rubber and make some money.
Yeah, for some dinner tonight, then.
We wanted 2 whole chickens.
Oh, sweet, man.
And Cyrus?
You just tell that man that to get the tea on as soon as we get there.
My friends, someone is trying to kill us. These men are coming for the drugs and the money.
Are you being serious?
They're coming after you, Cyrus, and they said they would hurt the Manda.
Cyrus will bolt. First sign of trouble. He's done it to me before.
Right then.
We might be able to sort out your little problem.
Look, why don't we just do nothing and see what happens?
They are going to kill us. That is what is going to happen.
Tea, you want coffee?
Well, I'm joined now in the studio by the actors Marlon G, who plays B, a character described as one of the most dangerous arms dealers in the Welsh valleys. I could tell as soon as he walked in. And Enoch Frost, who plays Tony, B's long-term partner in crime. Guys, thanks for coming in. It's described as an irreverent tale of greed, corruption and the fight for survival, told with a wink and a knowing smile. And I can't pretend to be a gangster, but it looks like a lot of fun. Was it as fun to film as it seems to be to watch?
Marl, I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely thrilling to film. Yeah, very enjoyable shoot, very long shoot. But yeah, it was great fun. We had a lot of fun playing with the guns, etc. So yeah, it was really good.
And it obviously surrounds Hackney in the late 90s, early 2000s, and specifically the sort of heroin drug scene within Hackney. Just how important was it to make it as real as possible, and at what lengths did you go to sort of try and immerse yourself in what it was like at that time in Hackney?
Well, the main thing was just to honour the script that was given to us or written by Thorin Seeks, who had lived much of the scenarios that you see in the film. To a lesser extent, I think most of the characters are rooted in reality. He knew a lot of the people, a lot of the faces. The performances are seemingly like fairly hyperbolic, bombastic, but like I say, Thorin lived this, and we just had to pay credit and do as much justice as we could to the script that he provided us with. He was the heroin addict. He spent years in a bedsit in Hackney. And yeah, like I say, he gave all the material was there. It was a question of the director, Chris Bouchard's talent and ability to bring it to the screen, and I think he did a pretty good job.
It's amazing to think someone has lived that, isn't it? You couldn't really make it up unless you've been there and you've done it.
Yeah.
Marlon, it's a lot of drugs and guns and violence and probably sex, but it's also quite funny too, isn't it? How important is that for sort of a British London comedy to have that, a British London film to have that element of comedy, even though even though it's quite dark comedy?
Well, I think definitely it's important because, as British people, we do have that humour, even if things are going wrong or going badly, we still have a smile on our faces. So, yeah, I think that's very important that we got the humour in there and just, as Enoch was saying, kept it very real, very natural, but very real. But yeah, the humour obviously is very key. And
Enoch, it's important, isn't it, being in London, for it to be as diverse as London is. So, like in the intro, we said there's an Afghan illegal immigrant,
exactly.
Welsh Jamaican dealers, a hired Russian gang, a very varied cast.
Yeah.
Just how important is that, especially in London, where you've got all of this mixing cultures all coming together in sort of one shoot?
Yeah, I mean, perspective is a strange thing, and you go overseas and people's idea of what London represents is slightly skewed often. So I think this is a reality check for the it points at the multicultural nature of the city, the fact that a lot of us do get along with each other, regardless of creed, colour, belief systems. And I just think it's an eye-opener, and I think the world will embrace it because of that. It just shows a different side, you know, much the same as Tarantino shows us a different side of America, you know. Yeah, it's the same kind of expose.
And Marlon, is there any overarching message at the end of the film that you come away from the film thinking about, or is it more of a story about this guy's experience in Hackney?
Yeah, I definitely think it's more about his life and his experience, as opposed to like we're trying to set a message out there, or warning, don't take drugs. Yeah. It's not, it's literally, we're not trying to say anything essentially. I don't think there's really a central message that everyone should follow. But yeah, I just think it's just a fun and thrilling film, and we're hoping people that will go and see it. It is out on the 3rd of April in cinemas, and DVD is on the 13th of April as well. So. How's
your Welsh Valleys accent coming on? Was that easy to enact, because you are one of the most dangerous gangsters in the valleys? How did you end up in Hackney if you're coming from the valleys?
Well, my character is Jamaican, but he come over to London. Come over to the valleys, I should say, and he adopted the Welsh way of living, if you like. He didn't really go fully, in terms of his accent, didn't really fully embrace the Welsh. I mean, he is, as I said, a Welsh Jamaican, but I think Enoch's character was more, he had more of the Welsh, and I was going more Jamaican with the Welsh, whereas he was more Welsh with the Jamaican, so we had the contrast, if you like.
And you guys were sort of in the film mates growing up, were you, and just sort of stuck together through thick and thin?
Yeah, well, there's an interesting subtext. There's a lot of gunplay in the film, quite a lot of close-quarter combat, weapons and tactics, and it was important that we showed that there was some kind of unity between our two characters in our ability to basically use firepower and conquer the enemy efficiently whilst high on drugs. So it had to look like it was second nature, and like I say, the subtext is that we have spent time in the army. Mm-hmm. We don't allude to it very much during the film, but there are a few words that Marlon's character B uses which imply that we do have some military knowledge. And yeah, that was really the important part as far as us showing that there was a bond. It wasn't about whether we'd grown up together, it was about how we'd come to be efficient criminals and pretty much fearless as far as the police and authority were concerned.
And it hasn't been released yet. It's being released in the next few days, as you said, on DVD and in the cinemas. Mm-hmm. What's the reaction been in terms of people who have seen it, any premieres that you've had, or what's the reaction been to people who've had lucky enough to see a sneak peek?
Oh, it's been great, man. I mean, I think that the UK were ready for its own Tarantino-esque escapade, and we've given it to them in spades. Literally. Another amazing thing about this film is the soundtrack. I'm not going to list the artist, but I think the soundtrack alone, the soundtrack stands alone as a work of art in itself, and that's actually due for release. I don't know whether you've heard of a band, Alabama 3.
Gonna have to stop you there. Alabama 3 at Hackney's Finest, guys. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. That's it from me. Do stay tuned though for much more news and entertainment. Our top stories this morning. Counting is underway in most of Nigeria, but in parts of the country, technical issues mean polling stations have reopened today. Singapore says farewell to its founding father. The funeral of Lee Kuan Yew is taking place today in the city that he transformed. The battle against Ebola isn't over yet. Guinea's president announces emergency measures after a